Greetings, everyone! It's I, Dracovin, your Lord and Emperor here at the Dracovin Empire, and welcome once more. We're diving back into the world of darkness. And I always love diving into the world of darkness. Today is going to be a fairly simple one. One that I've technically done before, really, actually, a lot of times. I'm talking character creation and the basics of it for, well, a different world of darkness. But we've done this job before. And certainly there isn't a huge amount of differences in the ways that most of these World of Darkness character creations work. But today I wanted to do it because there are some differences with Changeling The Dreaming we're going to talk about. So if you're joining me live with me together right now on Twitch, hey Twitch, how's it going? You're going to be showing up over on the side in the Twitch chat. But if, of course, you're joining me later on YouTube, also, hi YouTube, I always enjoy you. Or just get the basic support on each of those things. Follow on Twitch and on YouTube, subscription, maybe ringing that bell, liking the video, all that kind of stuff. Your experiences with Changeling, and have you ever tried trouble with certain aspects of the character sheet? What's your thoughts on character creation in Changeling in comparison to other World of Darkness games? That's my kind of breakdown here, because having studied on it myself, there are basic differences between how a lot of other World of Darkness character creation work and Changeling. Granted, there's a lot of similarities between the two of them. Your attributes, your abilities, they're all the same. You got backgrounds just the same. You know, these are all very similar things. It's just that it's the devil's in the details in this case when it comes to your different advantages and some of your concept-related things. So we'll talk about it, you know. So of course, I'm going to focus on C20. That is, at the time of me recording, streaming this video, the current setup, the current latest version of Changeling. Will we get another, like, C5, I guess they'd call it, even though it's not the 5th edition? Similar to how we've gotten V5, W5 now. I don't know. I'm sure that we'll get a mage before then, but doesn't mean that some point down the line, the current creators of various material for World of Darkness might decide, hey, let's bring Changeling back. It is interestingly a very interesting one, and I can see it being a one that could be very popular. But again, that's up to them entirely. Throw myself over here, and yeah, this is I wanted to use the C20 character sheet, so do not mind that this is a pop out from the background. Someone asking about making a C20 character sheet in Roll20. I'm guessing it's an older version of the character sheet in Roll20, but this is the one I wanted to show off, and this was the easiest way to show it off, so that's what I chose. So when we take a look at the character sheet here, it's a lot like any other World of Darkness character sheet. Pretty simple, easy there. I will go through the steps of character creation, which are, again, very similar to any World of Darkness game, but as I go through them, I am going to interject what I feel like is different here, just to a little bit. So, of course, you start out with the top of the sheet, your character concept. That's pretty easy. It's who you are. It's your being you are. It is your concept. Now, there are a lot more choices here than you'd averagely have. Normally you make like 1 or 2 choices related to whatever you are. Like if you're a werewolf, it's, oh, yeah, I'm a werewolf, this is my tribe. If you're a vampire, I'm a vampire, this is my, you know, my clan, and also whatever group I'm part of. You know, am I Sabat, am I Camarilla? Those like 2 choices, and then you got your demeanor and stuff like that. You don't have a lot of that here. We in fact have, except for the Motley, which I think is your team, and your Chronicle, which is the game you're playing. You got your name, your player name, and you have 5 things here which determine your character, but they're related to Changeling. First off, your kith, the type of Changeling you are. That's a pretty big one. We talked about that in my introduction to Changeling a lot. We also talked about the other 2, courts and legacies, which are 2 big ones here. Of course, a whole bunch of different courts. I'll have to go into depth about them more, just like I'll have to go into depth about kiths over the course of my time doing videos based upon this. And then, of course, you've got your legacies. Are you Seelie? Are you unseelie? Which are we're breaking down not only that. So now we have your legacy determines the kind of courts you have access to. And then, you're a kith. That's a part of those. So we already have 3 things that are determining this. It's pretty big. Of course, then we have house on here, which all Silde characters are part of the noble house unless they forsake their title. So that's one of those ones that you're connected to. Like, the house is another thing. So court, house, legacy, kith, we're connecting all these together. And of course, then seeming is like your attitude stuff then. Your reflection of your outlook on life as a changeling and the dreaming in general. So, interestingly enough, that's an entire thing there too. That we have these different parts combining together in a very complex way. So we're already seeing that changeling, for your concept, is much more complex than a lot of other World of Darkness games. Because you have at least 3, 4, 5 kind of choices that reflect upon your character building. These things help determine your existence. They always do in your character concept. But we have a lot more choices here, and it does mean that the world as it is unfortunately, in a way, a lot more black and white than a lot more of the other World of Darkness games, in a way. What do I mean by this? In my descriptions of the way that I'm interpreting this, you know. If I'm in werewolf, and I'm choosing 2 things, I'm a werewolf, and then choosing my tribe. Tribe gives a general attitude. Okay. But I'm an individual within that. It's the culture I come from, but it's one culture. In this case, the legacy is one group of culture. The court is one group of culture. The kith you are is a group of culture. The connection to a noble house is a group of culture. And so then we have one thing which is reflecting the essence of your character's concept beyond the normal just concept, and 4 things determining various connections to culture, and each of them can be individual and determining factor on the way your character acts. 4. Vampire, I might say there's like 2. I mean, like, granted, in werewolf you can kind of argue that werewolf and other changing breeds are different there, but there's a lot of similarities between most changing breed cultures that make it enough that I'm not going to kind of argue too much about that one there. Vampires, your overall organization is very different. Same can be said for mages, and then the traditions under them. If you're a technocrat or your council of the mystic traditions, that's very different. Similar with Sabbat and Camarilla. In this case, yes, the legacies are very different. The different courts are very different. The different kiths are very different. Even the various houses, they might be coming down to the more similar things, but they can be very different too. 7 Seelie, saving unseelie, and so they're kind of also linked to the legacy a little bit too, and we can see these linkings together to create this complex thing, where each one has their own idiosyncrasies, but it is something to think about. And I think this is the aspect of changeling character creation I wanted to go into most. These 4 things here, and their essence. Now, I can go on about this for a while, but we should break down the rest of the character creation. We'll get back to chatting about this in a little bit. So after you have your character concept, of course, then you move on to your attributes. This is the easy one, or the traits, I should say. Your attributes, your physicals, mental, and social, where you have 1 dot in each of those, and then you do the primary 7-5-3. This is traditional World of Darkness kind of building of character, similar to the abilities. 13-9-5 for primary, secondary, tertiary for your talent, skills, and knowledges. And again, this is all stuff that, if you're not familiar with World of Darkness, hi, I'm introducing you to it. If you are familiar with World of Darkness, it's the same thing. The idea being that you have, at least for your attributes, your things that reflect your basically form, you have physical, social, mental. You have 9 of them, 3 in each, and then you have 1 in each of the stats, and you have 7 points to allocate to one of them of your choice, whether you want to be physical, social, mental, 5 to another one, and 3 to your third of your choice. You choose your priority on those 3 different things. Okay, similarly for the abilities, you have talent, skills, and knowledges. Talents are more intuitive, skills are more hands-on, knowledges is more book learning. There you go. And you certainly have to choose one of those that you have 13 points to allocate. You start with 0 and everything. Secondary, you get 9. And the third one, your one that you wanted least of, you get 5. Okay. Those dots, of course, start as 1. You can't go above 5 in most cases, similar to with the abilities. So attributes and abilities, pretty simple. I've re-explained them in case you're unaware of them, just in case, because, you know, I might have new people here that are interested directly in Changeling character creation. I can't assume all of you here are, you know, familiar with World of Darkness stuff. Probably most of you. But still. For the abilities, it is important to note you can't have more than 3 during this portion of character creation. So keep that in mind. Even if you got those 13 points, if you put them into talents, you can't have a talent of 5 right now. You can have a 3 at most. The attributes, you can go up to 5. You can go up to the maximum if you really want to. So, once we've got that middle section of the sheet done, we go down to the bottom. Our advantages. Of course, there is backgrounds, which represent things related to our history. That's what a background is. You get 5 points to allocate to a background at this time. You can have up to 5 points, so you can just throw all of them into one background. And they're very broad. They're just aspects of friends, locations that are special to you, magical islands, innate abilities, various things like that. I'd recommend looking through the entire background chart, talking with your storyteller about that, and especially because I'm not going to explore all the backgrounds here, because I can go over the ones easily that I know about. And then, of course, you know, I've reviewed some of the other ones that are more Changeling specific, but again, that's not what we're here for today. We're here to learn the basics a little bit and see how it differs from other World of Darkness things. Then we get into something which is uniquely Changeling. Your arts and realms. Yeah. So this does represent your special powers. You know, a werewolf have gifts and rights, a vampire would have disciplines, a mage would have points and spheres. In it, for a Kithkane's sake, a Changeling's sake, you have arts and realms. They are your sort of magical abilities. Arts are the broad type of magic you can use. You have 3 points to spend there. You would have to look into the various arts to see where you're kind of going into. You know, there is descriptions in it. You choose what you want kind of in that. So you can see in the character sheet, you would probably write in the arts you'd want, and then define how many dots you're spending. Again, you only start with 3 dots in arts to begin with, but, you know, they can expand. If arts determines the magic your character can do, realms determines how you use it. Realms are flexibility on how you use your arts, giving you a broader range of possible targets for your power. You have 5 points at realms. There is, again, another quick thing, and I'm not getting into it today. This is, again, we're doing basics. We might go into depths on... We'll probably do a video more on depths of some of this stuff. Things like backgrounds or Changeling/Kithkane powers and, you know, the general ways to use them. That might be an interesting video to do in a future time. But today I just wanted to kind of go over the basics here. Anyway, so of course, yeah, these two things combine together to determine your special abilities. It's as simple as that. You know, I have two stats, they determine my special abilities, they figure out how I work. Now, we do have what they call the tempers. Your glamour, your willpower, your banality. These are your aspects of your character going between the dreaming and the autumn world. Basically, the real world and the world of the changelings and the fairies, the Kith King. These interact a bit differently than rules of other traits in the first categories. You start with a base rating of all of these, modified by your choice of seeming. So remember that seeming you choose, that helps affect these three things here. So yeah, everyone begins with a willpower of 4. You can't increase your permanent willpower than more than 10. Your glamour is the overall strength of your nature and raw magical potential. It's mostly spent to power cantrips, enchant mortals, activate treasures, use birthrights or boons. You begin with a 4 also. And again, these are all affected by your seeming, but these are the base numbers that everybody starts with. And then similarly, banality is how much the autumn world, the real world, weighs down on your face soul. It's both an accumulated damage of your, and also like on how much you've suffered from the disbelief of humanities, your own inner doubts and fears. Banality is to be feared, but it also can help defend you against cantrips or avoid detection at a cost. You start with a banality of 3. If you reach 10, you're undone. You cease to be a changeling. And also glamour cannot exceed 10. So willpower, max 10, glamour max 10. Banality is max 10, but you don't want it to get to 10 or you're screwed. Yeah. Now, every Kith has something called birthrights, as well as inherited drawbacks known as frailties. So, yeah. These are systems that are different than merits and flaws. A lot of systems have merits and flaws, but birthrights and fatalities are actually something that you will have that is different from that. Because they do add new things to your characters. Look over them carefully. You could receive a bonus to appearance checks. Boggins can receive cannot botch rolls involving crafts. Your bonuses from your birthright are taken. May take your character over 5 dots. Is an important thing to note, giving you superhuman levels. 5 dots is the maximum human potential. So here's the first time we can go over 5 in anything. This is the first time we can go superhuman. Werewolves can go superhuman. Vampires can technically go superhuman. This is the first time you as a changeling can go superhuman. Your birthrights, your frailties. And this is based on your Kith. This is your birthrights and frailties from that. Whatever you are. Now you get some freebie points to spend. Yay! Freebie points. Everybody loves a freebie point. There's a nice chart in the entire thing that you have, you know, excuse me, a bunch of points that you can spend on anything. That's the kind of idea about it. Freebie points have a value that you can kind of throw into various places on your character in order to raise things that you've already put into place. You have 15 freebie points, but each thing has a cost. Something like a point of willpower costs you 1. A background costs you 1. Merits are a rating of merit points. We'll talk about merits in a minute, and they are technically optional. Things like realms, 2 per dot. Abilities, 2 per dot. Arts and attributes are both 5 per dot. And glamour is 3 per dot. Glamour is very important, so you can see it's a little bit more expensive there in the middle. But that's the general chart of how much things cost freebie-wise. So, like, you know, this is a point in time where if I want to raise points here and there, you can purchase new things, you can raise existing ones. And again, you have those 15 points, but different things have different values where you spend it. You might want to get 3 more points in arts. There goes your 15, you spent it all. Or you might want to get 15 points in backgrounds if you're going to use a lot of backgrounds. Maybe raise your ability grammar, maybe raise your willpower. You cannot raise traits above 5 with freebie points. Now, there's an opportunity for those abilities that were at 3s to go to 5s using freebie points for them. You can't raise your glamour willpower above 10 or raise your banality. That's also an important thing there. Of course, the exception is if you received a result of a birthright or house boon. This can increase the maximum rating accordingly. Like satyrs give physical prowess a free dot of stamina. So satyrs have a maximum stamina of 6. Because they get that free point there, it means your maximum is also 6. So keep that in mind. If something gives you a bonus point, which can increase your maximum above 5, and you don't have that maximum, it means you still can raise it to your new maximum. Because we talked about those birthrights and frailties, possibly making you superhuman above 5. Yeah. Now, the merits and flaws have always been optional. This is an important thing here. I like using merits and flaws. I do. It adds little, like, special things to your characters and imposes different things. Merits have a cost in freebie points. Flaws give extra freebie points. There is a maximum number of them, usually determined by the system that you can do. Keep that in mind. In the case of this one, sorry. Again, also important to note, before you select any merit, before you select any flaw, consult your storyteller. Because there's certain merits and flaws that may work better in your game, might not work at all, these different things. So you just don't choose merits and flaws too. You talk about your storyteller about, like, I want to take these merits, I want to take these flaws. Merits are positive things, flaws are negative things. And the entire thing is, you can have no more than 7 points of flaws towards extra freebie points. It does mean I could purchase 22 points in merits then, if I took 7 points of flaws, but then I'm using all my freebie points for merits. But it does give you a maximum number of them, only getting up to 7 points in flaws. It also means that your flaws are going to be there, but they're not going to be so overwhelming you can't do anything. You know, that's the point. So now, we have spent our freebie points. We have, honestly speaking, most of a character. And the last few things that we've been doing, except for things like the birthrights and frailties, you know... Look, I'm going to tell you. As soon as we went into the advantages, we were doing some things which are different from Changeling, but they're also very much the same. Things like your arts and realms, they're equivalent to a lot of abilities. Your tempers are equivalent to a lot of abilities. They are different and unique in the way that they're used, but they're very similar. The birthrights and frailties, again... they're very similar to various things. I could say, hey, a werewolf can change forms. It gets different stats during those forms. That could be very equivalent to like a birthright or frailty, honestly, in a lot of ways. And the freebie points, merits, and flaws, that's the same. We've kind of stayed mostly the same. The big things at the beginning of the character creation were what was mostly different there. Now, we choose specialties. This is a thing that is in a lot of World of Darkness stuff. If you have a rating of 4 in any attribute or ability, you get a specialty. It gives you a bonus if that specialty is triggered when using that ability or attribute. Just keep that in mind. You know, I think I've talked about it before, mechanically wise, in various places. It's basically a little bit of bonus that you're getting, or that expertise. You've, like, specialized a little bit in those things. Next, we have to talk about your threshold. So, you gain glamour from a variety of sources. mostly from one form or style that calls them more than others. This is your threshold, with more benevolent forms known as musings and harsher forms known as ravagings. Seelie tend to have musings, unseelie tend to have ravaging thresholds. That's the difference. It doesn't mean your character will follow those trends. You don't actually have to decide for now. You can choose a threshold during play. We'll have to talk about thresholds. In addition, every changeling has an antithesis, an action that you view as the epitome of banality, soul-crushing, stifling, and curdles your fairy soul to its very core. It's a banality trigger. You will come up with an antithesis for your character. Finally, last thing you do is all the little sparks of life. You know, you've got a name, breathe light, what motivation you've got, you know, things like that. What are your identity, your appearance, any other unique quirks. You throw those things together. That's how you finish up your character. Now, there are some details here that certainly we want to go into. And I think that's going to be an important thing to talk about. But it's not really what I wanted to talk about today. I wanted to go over the basics to help you through your ideas of character creation, understanding what all these steps are. And the C20 book does a pretty good job of displaying all these things. I'm not going to lie. You might not need me if you have the C20 book and you want to go through it. This is to me kind of explaining things in a way that hopefully breaks it down a little bit better. This is very general World of Darkness. This is very general what you do to create a character in a World of Darkness game. Changeling isn't much different from that. What differs are, of course, the stories, the abilities you have, the way that they're displayed, your connections with the world. Those are the little things that make a World of Darkness character different between a mage, a vampire, a werewolf, and a changeling. Or any of the other World of Darkness games. Hunters, demons, wraiths, mummies. There's a lot of World of Darkness character sheets out there, and they are all very similar. Now, yes, I will probably take a video in the near future where I go over these aspects in more detail. This beyond the character creation, understanding different aspects of it to a degree. But there isn't a lot to talk about anyway, because again, a lot of this you work on with your storyteller. Your specialties, that's another normal one. Granted, your thresholds and your antitheses, that's something you're going to have to look at in the book, read up on, talk with your storyteller about. And again, the spark of life is how very much you want to develop your character before you start. What essence do you want to say? How do you want to define how you will play when you start the game? Certainly speaking, there are a lot of ways to do that. Every character is unique, different, individual, and how you're going to play your character will be determined by, well, you. I'm going to keep this short. So let's move away from this character sheet, which is, I probably could have found like a, I don't know, PDF of it or something and shown that on screen. But OBS doesn't like me doing a lot of stuff like that. Don't bother with that. Let's sit down for a second and think about making a character in Changeling. Because that's what today has all been about. Making a character in Changeling. And, yeah, if you are familiar with a lot of stuff in World of Darkness, it's familiar. You've made this character before. The small details are different. If you are new to World of Darkness and Changeling, I have to say, this tends to be a little bit more complex of a character sheet. The easier character sheets tend to be, honestly, from my experience and character building, vampires and werewolves before this one. Mages are really complex. I've talked about the complexity of Mage, the Ascension, and how it, honestly, is one of the reasons I don't tend to run it. I've done it rarely. Changeling has some of that complexity to it, but it's not necessarily overpowering. There are a lot of choices you make, little choices which help determine your character very early on. The broad strokes are a lot more deep than in a lot of other World of Darkness games. Remember, I talked about this in the concept at the beginning, how you're making 4 possible choices on your average Changeling character. 4 of them to start out with. And they mean a lot to your character. Think about the things that it helps determine. It helps determine your characteristics, your birthrights, your frailties. It changes your tempers, your willpower, glamour, and banality. It helps determine things related to arts and realms, maybe even your background, in general. It does a lot to help determine your character very early on. I'm going to tell you, choosing between the Camarilla and the Sabbat usually does jack diddly in most average things, or the Anarchs, or any other smaller group that's not a clan in Vampire. In Mage, it might do something. Certainly speaking, the different groups technically work differently, Technocrats versus the Council, but nonetheless, they are, honestly speaking, in the deep essence of things, very similar. Same can be said for werewolf tribes. They're very similar. And what do you choose? Auspex, your breed, and your tribe. Those are 3 things you choose, which are meaningful, sort of. Just because you choose them, you get some early stuff, but it doesn't really affect everything later on, which is an interesting thing to say. Maybe there are some unique abilities that are restricted to an Auspex, to a breed, to a tribe. Unique gifts. But in general, a lot of them are just there. Now, this isn't to say your arts and realms are not just there as a changeling. But all the choices are a lot more, I'm born that way, and more, this is the society I'm part of, the groups I'm part of. Being a Hamid member of a werewolf tribe that's born in a certain moon means I'm still a member of that werewolf tribe, completely and utterly. On the other hand, being this kith, in this court, this legacy, and this house, each are different. Each are unique. And again, court can change during play. You can switch courts. Houses, you can choose not to serve a house. You can't change your kith, can't really change your legacy necessarily. But still, there is a lot more chosen by your character early on how you are not only interacting with the Autumn world, but the Dreaming, and the groups that are set within it. I think that's an interesting aspect of Changeling the Dreaming. That there is probably a much deeper society that is uniquely separated out from society of the Autumn world. Because you think about it, mages, werewolves, and vampires, well, mages and vampires much more, are intrinsically linked to the modern world society. Werewolves, to a degree, they interact with it a lot more. In this case, the society you interact with is much more unique and alien than the one in the Autumn world. Things about related to the Camarilla or the Technocrats, they might be different, but they're intrinsically linked to people and the real world and the way things work there. Changeling, you could probably draw parallels, but they're not. Anyway, I could rant about this for a while, and I think I will in the future do another video based around a lot of this stuff where I talk about the aspects of your character that are different as a changeling. This is you building your character. I'll do a companion piece to this one where we talk about those things, where we talk about maybe what backgrounds are unique to changelings, the, thresholds, antithesis, banality, glamour, arts, realms, these things that are uniquely changeling a little bit more, and kind of try to break down the unique parts of a changeling character that make you a changeling more than any other World of Darkness character. Because mechanically sided, I think that's a good place to explore. I do want to explore that in something on its own. But thank you for joining today. We'll do that sooner rather than later. I'll put it on the schedule. If you enjoyed today, please check out all my other stuff, my other videos, and all those different things. I stream this on Twitch and then put the videos recorded up on YouTube, usually a couple days later, depending if I keep the schedule well. If you want to join me live, of course, tabletop stuff's Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, where I talks like this. Tuesdays and Thursdays are 1 p.m.-ish to 2 p.m. in general. EST in the afternoons. Life schedule usually messes around with those schedules, sometimes making it earlier, more oftentimes making it later. Saturdays, usually between 11 and 12, I get started, and that's my World of Darkness day. So if you want to join me for more World of Darkness videos, Saturdays are your day to come, join me, and learn about this stuff. And again, that's 11 to 12 EST. I have a live play of some tabletop games. Pathfinder 1st Edition right now is the only one I'm doing. That's on Wednesdays, 9 p.m. EST. Check it out, Crimson Queen. And then Saturdays at 6, discussing tabletop. I have social media, Discord, Twitter. I do other gaming streams, chatting streams, and hangouts on Mondays, Wednesdays, Friday, if you ever want to join those. That's just a chance to chat. I always take tabletop questions if you ask one. And that's the basic schedule. Everything, all the tabletop stuff goes up on YouTube. I set all the shoutouts for all those things. Alright, everybody. We're going to leave Changeling for now. I definitely have been felt like I want to dive deeper into things. But it's one of those things as I've done some research on it, and I want to do more. Changeling is one of the couple of games I didn't do a lot of. I think I made part of a Changeling character many, many years ago, and in a earlier version of Changeling, before C20 came out. And I don't remember if I finished it or not. But we never played. I never experienced it. A lot of the other ones, I've played and experienced. I've played Werewolf. I've played Mage. I've played Vampire. I've technically ran all 3 of those. I've had some experience with some of the other White Wolf systems. Changeling. We've been going down this path together for it. And I hope you'll enjoy more of the videos in the future. But until that time where we talk and re-enter the dreaming, leaving the autumn world behind, I bid all of you out there a deep and wonderful farewell.